welcome to our part 2 of the Collector's Planet presents the Collector's Corner, our second installment with Andy Purvis. This is
I think there's 35 autographs on here. And again, it's one of those deals where I took it to shows like you did and got Hall of Famers to sign the program. It's an actual Pro Football Hall of Fame program, and you'll recognize the names: Joe Namath, Sonny Jurgensen, Randy White, Y.A. Tittle, Dorsett, Butkus, Ted Hendricks, John Henry Johnson, Willie Lanier. There's an interesting story. Willie Lanier was the first African American to play middle linebacker. You know, for many, many years, middle linebacker, quarterback, free safety were white players. Very few African American players played middle linebacker, played Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, Morgan State is where he went. But anyway, on the back we have Nitschke, Earl Campbell, Jim Brown, Gail Sayers, Kellen Winslow, great tight end, Terry Bradshaw, Faust, Leroy Kelly, Art Donovan. What was the name of his book?
Fatso.
Fatso, yeah.
Fatso.
Art. Now talking about telling stories.
Oh,
this guy made $12,000 a year playing for the Colts and probably $250,000 on Johnny Carson.
That's true. That's very true.
Anyway, yeah, this book, this is one of my favorites, and of course this one has even lasted longer. There's 49 autographs in this book. Some of them are the same, but there's a few.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Look at that. Look at that.
This one here, I don't know if you took the little piece of this one's got like Jim Taylor in it. And
I have a list here.
Bill Willis.
Mike Singletary, Ray Nitschke,
Yeah.
Terry Bradshaw, Deacon Jones, Ted the Matt Stork,
Yeah.
Hendricks,
Ted Hendricks, yeah.
Bobby Bell, Bob Lilly, Jim Brown, Jack Lambert, Art Fats O'Donovan, Joe Green, Mean Joe Green.
What a
Bart
great
Starr.
name. That might be the great name of all.
Yeah, Mean Joe Green.
And you know what? His name's not even Joe. Did you?
I've heard that.
Yeah, that's your assignment. Look up what Joe Green's real name. It's not Joe. It's different.
Okay, I have an assignment, folks. All right. And you have here Y.A. Tittle, Bart Starr, Joe Montana, and one of my favorite receivers here all time is Steve Largent. The list goes on and on. Joe Namath, Fred Biletnikoff, John Henry Johnson, Otto Graham, Randy White, Tom Landry, Texas legend. Oh my gosh, Tom Landry. Did you ever meet Tom Landry?
Oh yeah, several times. Yeah.
What can you tell us about Tom?
Tom was a very, Brooks Brothers suits, always immaculate, spoke very clear, concise, would use scripture in his meetings. I mean, when he was doing the public, not so much in the locker room. I was never present with him in the locker room, only met him. I met him with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, him and Roger Staubach. But Tom would leave you with things to think about. He was just one of those kind of guys. I don't think, the press said that he was upset about Jerry Jones letting him go and stuff, and I think that to a certain extent. But I think Tom was always kind of satisfied with who he was, what he had done, what he had accomplished.
Right.
And there's a great Tom Landry story I got to tell now.
Okay.
When Tom first had the Cowboys, Dave, if I remember correctly, they did not win a single game the first year.
Right.
61 or 2, man. I'm not.
60.
19. Okay. And he said the team was so bad, and he told us at the Fellowship of Christian Athletes meeting about it, that the running backs didn't want the ball. Now, this is back when they played with 2 halfbacks and a fullback in the backfield and a quarterback. So there were 4 in the backfield. So they're playing against the Chicago Bears. George Halas, who we'll talk about later on, was coaching the Bears. The Bears shut them out, 34-0, something like that. Tom said across the field, I shook hands with George Halas, and Halas says, "Hey Tom, we knew every play you were going to run." Landry said, "How is that possible?" He said, "Every time your guys broke the huddle, there were 3 guys laughing and 1 guy looked really serious." So we knew who was going to get the ball. Now I don't know if that's true or not, but the story he told that is true. Now whether it's actually happened, I don't know.
No, it's a great story nonetheless. What can you tell us about this? Is awesome.
This is a
1929
Chicago Bears football club.
My goodness.
And George Halas was a player at that time, and they're playing against the Chicago Cardinals.
Interesting.
Now the Cardinals later moved to St. Louis, became the St. Louis Cardinals, and then they moved and became the Phoenix Cardinals, right?
Yes.
And then the Rams came and became the St. Louis Rams. I mean, so we've had some, everybody's talking about the Raiders moving to Vegas. There's been a lot of movement if you go back and look at it. Anyway, the Chicago Cardinals against the Chicago Bears, and there's a picture inside of George Halas as a player. This is 1929. It's in really good shape, and I think I probably bought this holder from you. And then there's a second one there in 1930. The Bears were joined by two other legends, Red Grange and Bronco Nagurski.
Oh my goodness!
How would you like those guys on the team?
Wow.
Red Grange, the Iceman, the original Iceman.
The original Iceman.
Yeah, before George Gervin, right?
Before George Gervin, yes.
Of course, Red got his name from hauling ice around when they used to sell ice off the back of trucks.
Right.
Right. So anyway, and of course Bronco Nagurski, what an interesting name.
What a name.
But in this particular one, I don't remember who this team was. 87 years ago. Now this is when they played in Wrigley Field, the Bears.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Soldier Field didn't exist yet.
Zoom in on that. Isn't that awesome? Look at that, 1930.
And they played the Minneapolis Red Jackets, who I have no idea. And then there's a little thing in there that says next Sunday we play the Green Bay Packers. So
hey, there you go. There you go.
10 cents.
10 cents, yes, 10 cents, 10 cents. Andy, in closing here, I just have to ask you for another story. You're just an awesome storyteller. What else can you tell us here? Mickey Mantle or otherwise someone else?
Well, Mickey was obviously my favorite player growing up. I grew up in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina. I was born in 1951, the year Mantle and Mays joined the major leagues. And at 13, I had a paper route, and there was a contest that said whoever got the most new subscriptions would win a trip to the World's Fair, the 1964 World's Fair. My father owned a little grocery store, kind of like a little 7-Eleven. He called it Gordon's Market. His first name was Gordon. And he would buy newspapers. So he, without my knowing, when the guy would bring the newspapers around, and of course he'd throw out the big pile and I'd roll them up, put the rubber bands on and put them in my bike, and I had the big basket on the front and the basket on the back, and here I'd go. And he would ask the guy, how far is he behind? Oh, he's 2 behind. So Dad would add 2 newspapers to the 10 that he was already getting, so he'd get 12. Anyway, so I didn't know all this at the time, being a 13-year-old kid, but I won the trip to the World's Fair. We stayed at the Manhattan Hotel. Back then they used to give you stickers that you put on your suitcases. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We ate at Mama Leone's, which is one of the famous Italian restaurants, and we went to the World's Fair. And on the last day before we came home, we went to see the New York Yankees play at Old Yankee Stadium. Mickey Mantle, Yogi Berra, Whitey Ford, Moose Skowron, Bobby Richardson, Tony Kubek, Hank Bauer, Casey.
Wow.
I had never seen a place so big and never seen so many people inside one place. Like, at 13 years old, I was completely exhausted with excitement. It went into extra innings. I fell asleep. And to this day, I don't remember who won. But that was my beginning with Mickey Mantle. Mickey Mantle died in Dallas, Texas, 1995. But guess who started his career in 1995? A kid by the name of Derek Jeter. So my allegiance kind of switched from Mantle to Jeter. Not a bad little run we had with the two.
Not bad at all.
But one of my favorite stories, I got to meet Mickey later on in Houston on 2 different occasions. So I actually saw him once, Saw him 3 times, but met with him twice. Got some stuff autographed. Had a chance to walk with Larry DeLuey, put the show on. Larry gave me a chance to walk with him, to sit down and talk. There's a picture in one of my books of Mantle kneeling beside a wheelchair, a little girl. Remember, Mantle's knees were terrible. Here he is, we're walking down the hall, and there's a little girl in a wheelchair with her mom there. Without anybody saying anything or asking him, Mickey simply turned, knelt down on one knee, and allowed this lady to take a picture of him and the little girl in the wheelchair. I had the presence to grab my camera and take a picture of that shot. And I thought to myself, this is a shot the media would never show you because of all the things that went on in Mantle's life later on after his playing days. But anyway, the story I want to tell, that Mickey told this story to several people, not just me. But Bob Turley pitched for the Yankees. Bob lived in Baltimore. They're playing the Orioles. Roger Maris was there. Roger had just joined the team. Now, Mickey and Billy, being the characters that they are, Mickey tells Roger, well, first off, Turley's got a big pool behind his house, so they're all going to go swimming. Mickey tells Roger, I won the 200-meter breaststroke. I won the 300-meter fly, and I was an All-American at Oklahoma. He's just like, the truth is, Mickey Mantle can't swim a lick. Not a lick, okay? So it goes on and on until finally Roger challenges Mickey to swim from one end of the pool to the other, okay? So they line up. Now, Whitey Ford's in on the deal, okay, because Whitey knows that Mickey can't swim. Somebody says go, they both hit the water. Ford grabs the pool cleaner, you know, the long post that you scrape stuff on, sticks it in the water. Mantle grabs it, and Ford runs to the end of the pool, dragging Mantle behind him. Mantle hits the wall, climbs up, sits down in a chair, and he's sitting there like that. As Roger hits the wall, looks up, and he can't believe it. Mickey's wet, he's sitting in the chair, he saw him dive in. They let Roger believe that for years, that Mickey couldn't swim. Oh, what a great story.
That's awesome. That's just awesome. Andy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, not only for your friendship, but for enlightening our viewers on so many unknown facts of not only baseball, but football, and I hope to do it again soon.
We got to do the Muhammad Ali before I leave. You know,
Muhammad Ali,
if that's okay. Muhammad just passed away. I had a chance to meet Muhammad Ali in January of 1994 at the George R. Brown Convention Center. And when I found out he was going to be there, I purchased his book. And you can see the picture of Ali on the front. And I'm standing in line. And yes, he signed my book, along with the author was there too, who also signed it. Muhammad Ali. Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, I'm standing in line, and it dawned on me that January was Muhammad Ali's birthday. Now, I don't remember the date. I just remember it was in January. So I hand the book to the guy. I said, I want Muhammad to sign this for me. And I moved over, and he's signing it. And he hands me back the book. And I said, happy birthday, champ. And he smiles, and I said, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. And now everybody behind me, Dave, starts singing. Before the song was over, everybody in the hall was singing happy birthday to Muhammad Ali.
Wow.
I get goosebumps thinking about it.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
That's a great story.
And he just smiled and said, thank you very much. And this was, he was 1994. He would have been probably in his mid-50s. You know, he wasn't showing the effects of Parkinson's yet. Right. He was still full of vim and vigor, as they say.
The greatest. Yeah.
But the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time.
You know, in 1964, again, 64 was a big year for me. 60 he was in the Olympics. 64, I think he turned pro, started fighting. The Louisville Lip, right?
Yeah, the Louisville Lip. That's exactly right.
Here's a guy who really irritated a lot of people and ended up being a saint, somewhat of a. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about Muhammad Ali after the fact. Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. The legacy he lives behind, and who could forget that moment of lighting of the torch in the Olympics? Yeah. That was just that
as I'm speaking about it, that sends chills up and down.
He also had him sign a pair of Everlast. He wore the Everlast white trunks with the black stripe down the side, the silk ones.
Yes.
I had him sign a pair of those too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's in my story in this book coming up.
We haven't even reached the tip of the iceberg with Andy and his stories and all his memorabilia. Thanks again for watching, and hope to catch you next time. Take care.